Greetings, fellow listeners, and welcome back to the sixth episode of Abe's complete Star Trek commentary. Today we'll be focusing on the next episode on the next Netflix watch list, being The Naked Time. This has got to be one of my more favorite episodes from the original series because you get to see what happens when the crew of the Enterprise let their hair down and they get a little tipsy. I rather like this episode. Again, there are many themes that we could look at, but mainly because I think this is the first episode where we actually get to see them let their hair down, have some fun, and see what happens when things get taken not quite so seriously. I also I just want to thank those who have listened to my episodes and commentaries so far. I do very much appreciate that there are some people out there who are listening to these podcasts that I am posting. For those who do want to give me feedback or just want to make general comments about my show, I am available on Twitter at Warrior346. That's WARRIOR 346. And my email address is warrior346@yahoo.com. I do and would appreciate any and all comments that people may have, and in relation to these podcasts that I've done so far, or any potential requests or changes that they feel that that should be made. So for now, let's get started watching the Naked Time and see what happens when the rules no longer apply. So, the episode starts with the Enterprise orbiting planet Psi 2000, which just occurred to me. This episode makes a recurring appearance in two different Star Trek Next Generation episodes, which I look forward to talking about when the time comes. That being The Naked Now and from the first season, and Relics, which I believe is season 6, although I'll correct myself when I get a little closer to that. Anyway, so we have Spock and miscellaneous officer, beaming down to this planet in what appears to be hazmat gear, and they find that the research station and those there have all been frozen. The unknown, the miscellaneous officer has been told to just check to find out what happened with the life support systems, and finds that they were actually turned off, which explains why the facility has been frozen. We find that one woman there has been killed, neck broken, and that another person just sat down at his post and died like they didn't care. A third was having a shower fully clothed, and so something very odd is going along here. As Spock separates out to explore more of the facility to kind of see what else has gone on there, we've got unknown silly officer now who takes off his glove. They're back in the kind of beam-in room, and he's kind of scanning the officer that died on the table there. And for some reason, I don't get what he's doing. He's scanning underneath the table for some strange reason. And in order to scan underneath the table, he's putting his hand ungloved over the side to the to the part that he can't see to kind of hold himself up, keep himself from falling over. And there's this red kind of orangey substance which comes out, little thin strands, almost very thin blood-like, come out there and touch him on his hand, and whatever it is, he gets infected with something. Don't know what that something is yet. It's still way too early in the episode for that. But still, I mean, what an absolute moronic move. You don't know what killed these guys. You've heard that one was killed, and you've seen some very odd things from others who are there. You've already beamed down in hazmat gear. So, yeah, let's be intelligent, take our glove off, so that we can get infected too. That's exactly what you want to do. Not to mention that these hazmat suits are not the best in the world because, well, while they might protect the hands, you've got the helmet, which you can clearly see is not sealed at all. So if the infection or whatever it is were airborne, you're breathing it in right now. So I got to admit, first few minutes of the episode, I'm already seeing some rather stupid behavior and kind of really low level tech, being shown here, which, really does disturb me and is causing me some very big angst for what's, in terms of what's going to happen with this episode. Okay, two other amusing comments that I'll make, just in relation to the opening, scene. Is as far as this crewman, kind of taking his glove off to do that scan, I find it amusing that Spock was checking out the rest of the facility, and after he's done scanning the underside of the table and gotten infected, this crewman stands up, puts his glove back on, and Spock walks in, not having seen any of that, and says, "Let's make sure we haven't exposed ourselves to anything." I mean, come on, Spock. You're not exactly protecting yourself too well, because again, you don't know if it's airborne or not. The second thing is he reports back to Kirk, kind of communicates with the Enterprise, and says that everyone here is dead. Kirk asks how, and Spock is unknown. It's unlike anything we've ever dealt with before. Which I find to be particularly funny because A, they've never been to a frozen wasteland before, apparently. B, they've never seen everyone dead on a planet before, which, I'll agree that this would maybe unusual to see the two things together. But to say that it's like nothing we've seen before, that's just a line. And I've heard better. But yeah, anyway, we'll see how this episode continues to progress. But I'm already having fun memories and trepidation about what's about to happen. So the landing party has been back up to the ship, and is going through a decontamination sweep. Obviously, whatever this is not going to be able to be gotten rid of through a simple decon. And just one point which I neglected to mention earlier, the reason why the ship is remaining in orbit is because this is a dying planet about to go boom! And the Enterprise has been ordered to watch the planet go boom! So, that's why they are sticking around here as well, in addition to trying to find out, what killed the science team on the planet. So we go to the medbay, and both Spock and miscellaneous officer, who we now know is Joe, I think I heard Tomlin or something like that, have just been checked over and been given a clean bill of health, although you can see that Joe is a little sweaty or something. He's kind of rubbing his hands where the offending contaminant kind of made contact. And we'll see how that, what this contaminant actually does. Two other points I'm going to make at this stage. One is Joe is obviously affected by what he saw, as quite rightly he should be. I mean, seeing 6 people dead is not exactly a pleasant, kind of thing to see. So I can certainly understand that affecting him, and Kirk has ordered Spock to look over the record tapes that were on the planet to see if there's any kind of mention or to what was going on down there, how everyone died. The other is that we get our first look at Christine Chapel and Majel Barrett's second appearance in the original series. Majel Barrett later goes on to marry Gene Roddenberry, the great bird of the galaxy and creator of this fine Star Trek series. And she's playing Nurse Christine Chapel. And that will be a recurring character throughout these seasons of throughout the series of the original series and a couple of the movies too, I believe. So next we're about to have our expositional briefing scene. So let's see what Spock uncovers with these record tapes. So in the briefing, we find that whatever it is that that's caused this is completely unknown. It's nothing that the computer or life sciences has ever encountered before. No intoxication, no known drugs or madness. But they do acknowledge that machines, devices are only able to register that which they are programmed to register. And if it's something which they've never heard of before, that the computers have never had programmed into them, it wouldn't recognize it. It may not, and it wouldn't be able to detect it, which is all too fair enough. And increases the danger that they're in because this is something which is completely unknown. Kirk, being the captain, asks some very valid captain type questions. Could what happened down there affect us up here? Because if it does affect us up here with what we're about to go through, being incredibly close to a planet that is about to go boom, would be extremely hazardous to the health of the crew. Because if the crew starts losing it, they won't be able to control the ship, and the ship could, in and of itself, with the planet, could also go boom. And so the captain is trying to make sure that there's going to be no effects. Scotty is saying that so long as long as everything's right up here with the people, the technology will the engines will be fine. They'll be able to get out of orbit as needed. But somehow I've got a feeling that it's not going to be quite so simple. Given the nature of these episodes, it very rarely is. Next scene, and we have Joe, who's just walked into one of the rec rooms to get some, I'll assume, some dinner. I don't know what time of day it was, but I'll guess dinner because I'm recording this at dinner time, and I'm kind of thinking about dinner myself, getting a little hungry, but anyway. And he's still playing with his hand, where this chemical or whatever it was that kind of came in contact with him. Sulu and Ensign, they will later come to know as Riley, walk in and talk about yet another of Sulu's hobbies, fencing. Something which I remember doing as a child, and I had a great deal of fun with too. I wonder if that fencing place is still around here. Anyway, and they're just having some light fun about it. They get a couple of cups of coffee and go to sit down with Joe, who they're obviously got friends with. And Joe, when Sulu tries to get Joe's attention, Joe loses it. He's like, why are we out here? What good are we doing? We've got no business being out here. No business. It's not our place. We're contaminating it. We're destroying space. There are 6 people dead down there. Why are they... if they're dead down there, why do I deserve to live? And he picks up a knife and initially threatens people around him with it, but then decides to start to turn it on himself. Sulu and Riley try to wrestle the knife away from him. And the thing I find very surprising is that no one else steps in to help. They're all just there, looking on, Starfleet officers just enjoying the show, which seems a little out of character for what they should be doing. And the fight eventually ends with the 3 of them falling on the floor, Joe cutting himself, and you can see blood on his uniform, and Riley calling for medical attention to the rec room that they're in. You also see, apparently it looks like whatever it is communicated by touch, because Riley is now starting to show the same kind of sweaty hands and kind of those kind of behaviors anyway, trying to dig into his hand, get whatever it is off or out, that Joe was, has been displaying since he arrived back from the planet. So whatever it is, he got it. So let's see how this, whether he goes completely loony in the same way, kind of suicidalish, or if he gets affected some other way. So we're back on the bridge, and it's just a basic, kind of course corrections, that are happening, and but the 2 points of interest here is that Spock is trying to go through the psychiatric files of Joe to see if they can find, explain his mental break, if you will. Not seeing anything there that directly points to anything, and also can see that Sulu has been affected by whatever this is too. So this disease, for lack of a better term, is definitely spreading. Next, we're down in the med bay, where McCoy is performing surgery on Joe to try and repair a stab wound, and everything seems to be going smoothly there, for the most part. And then we're back on the bridge where with a breaking up planet is starting to affect the orbit of the Enterprise, and we can see that that it's starting to have an effect on both Sulu and Riley a bit more. Riley more so, because he's slow to compensate for the change in gravity that needed to happen. And there's again so it's starting to whatever this is, it is starting to put the ship at risk. Not only that, but back in the med bay after the surgery is complete, something which should have been fairly routine because, but one would hope that by the 23rd century that they would have learned how to deal with a stab wound easily enough, because it's not exactly an unusual injury. It still hasn't helped. I mean, it's still, Joe is still dying somehow. And McCoy is, quite understandably perplexed because simple stab wound, what the heck, And so whatever this contaminant is, it also seems to affect the way the body is able to heal itself. And makes it unable to do so in the regular fashion. So Joe ends up dying, which is very puzzling to McCoy because the injury was not that severe. It was just a simple stab wound which he cured, and so which he healed or stitched up or whatever. And so it's puzzling to him. Anyway, we're back on the bridge, and McCoy has called Kirk down to med bay so that he can give his report and discuss what happened. And Spock is also making a report that he, that as the planet continues to break up, which it is doing at a fairly regular rate. I mean, it's shrinking at a fairly constant rate. That they are spiraling down towards it in order to have to maintain, the constant distance so that their scanners can, get the readings that they've been ordered to get. While this is after the captain leaves, and Spock is quite intent on monitoring the scanners and monitoring the planet breakup, Sulu and Riley are both commenting to each other that they're sweating. Sulu used the term sweating like a bridegroom. I mean, I personally didn't sweat on my wedding day. It was actually quite a beautiful day. I very much enjoyed it, but that's by the by. And Sulu, says to Riley, let's go down to the gym. It'll take, a couple of rounds down there will take the edge off. And leaving the bridge, when, particularly leaving the helm, unmonitored, when spiraling towards a planet that could go boom at any moment, not exactly the smartest of ideas. Riley tries to talk him out of it, but Sulu sneaks away. Spock is completely unobservant of this, which I do find puzzling, because Vulcan hearing, those ears, one would think that he'd be, would have increased hearing there, and should be able to hear what was going on with Sulu, and the fact that the turbolift doors open and shut, but he apparently paid no attention to what was going on. Good work, Spock. Well done there. You dropped the ball. And Riley is at a bit of a loss as to what to do at this stage. He does know what leaving the helm unmanned while the ship is in this kind of condition can do to the safety of the ship and crew. It's definitely not good. So Spock, McCoy and Kirk are having their little conference, and McCoy is thinking, well, maybe he just didn't want to live, and Kirk is asking the question, is it possible that whatever happened on the planet is starting to happen up here too? McCoy makes a comment that he was decontaminated. We ran all the checks for things that we know, and Kirk is saying, I want the impossible check too. I want you to check for things we don't know. See if there's anything there. Back on the bridge, an alarm at the helm is going off, and Spock finally realizes Sulu's not there. He compensates for the decaying orbit, and starts to ask Riley where Sulu has gone, and you can tell that Riley is starting to lose it now too. He goes all Irish poet, and Spock orders him down to sickbay, and we've now got Uhura and Miscellaneous Redshirt kind of manning the helm and con, or helm and navigation stations. And the ship is definitely in a dangerous position. So we'll see. Spock is about to report all this to the captain, and I'm guessing that while Riley may have been ordered to sickbay, he either A, is only going to spend like 30 seconds in there and leave, or B, find something else to do which will put the ship in even greater danger. So it appears he does make it to sickbay, runs into Christine Chapel, finds out about Joe's death, has no reaction to that at all, and he does touch Christine's face, so whatever it is, Christine's now got it. So this is definitely spread by touch, and essentially lowers the crew's inhibitions, and it's the situation is just going from bad to worse. Next, we see Sulu bounding topless and a little sweaty out of a turbo lift with a, I think it's an epi, a fencing sword, and threatens a couple of crewmen that are just wandering around, and in a kind of playful game type way. I mean, it's not done angrily. He's laughing about it and joking around. I gotta have or admit to having the thought that seeing a sweaty Sulu, or a sweaty George Takei at that age, he was actually not too bad a looking man. And I don't look at guys that way, happily married, straight and whatnot, but it wouldn't have surprised me if, back then he actually turned, quite the lady's head, or quite the number of ladies' heads. Because he actually was quite the handsome man, quite the attractive man, and I'm sure that this scene would have been a personal favourite of many a lady out there. So ship's orbit deteriorating. Kirk has returned to the bridge to get a report from Spock, and find and they're commenting that it's their hidden traits, their hidden desires, which are starting to come out here. Tomlin, Joe, who was disturbed by what he saw. You've got Riley, who views himself as a descendant of Irish kings, and you've got Sulu, who's a swashbuckler. Admittedly, I love that term. And just in the middle of this report, the Enterprise experiences another gravitational shift of the planet below, and and as they're trying to compensate, for it, they find that all their controls are dead. They're unable to correct the orbit and continuing to spiral down towards this planet, which is about to go boom. So things are going extraordinarily bad. As Kirk is about to go down to engineering to find out what the heck is going on because Scotty's not answering the communicator, Sulu bounds out of the turbo lift, shirtless still, and is threatening the bridge crew with his saber, with his epi or whatever it is, foil. I don't know. There's a number of different fencing swords. And so things are definitely going from bad to worse to could not get, to potentially fatal. And not just for one crewman, but for the entire ship, particularly if they don't get this under control in short order. All right, another first for the. Although feel free to correct me on this, but this is the first time we actually get to see Spock use a Vulcan nerve pinch. I remember reading that was that Spock or that Leonard Nimoy kind of developed that on the fly, and it became one of Spock's signature moves. Kirk tells him, "You got to teach me that sometime," and I love the reference to that Spock uses. Take D'Artagnan down here, down to sickbay, which is dangerous because it's going. Whatever it is communicated by touch, and because Sulu is now unconscious, they're going to have to carry him. And because no one is wearing protective gear, genius! I swear, the 23rd century, they must have lost some brain cells. Yeah. Anyway, so whoever comes in contact with Sulu to carry him down to sickbay is going to get infected too with whatever it is. Granted, I agree they don't know what it is yet. They don't know how it's communicated from person to person and how the infection is spread. But one would think that, given the circumstances, they would, that there would be some kind of hazmat protocol. At least wear gloves or something when handling infected personnel. But no, let's just go barehanded. Let whatever it is, because with the unknown, sure, let's just face it, unprotected. What the hell? What could go wrong? Yeah, well, ship at this rate is quite likely to go boom! So, as I suspected, Riley is being a douche. Never, ever give that man a drink. Whatever the heck this is, in terms of bringing out a person's inhibitions, it definitely ain't good on him. He's gone down to engineering, somehow kicked Scotty out of there, and has taken over control of the ship. And, which is now putting everyone's, life at risk. He's declaring himself captain, and is starting to sing an old Irish ditty, which, and Spock makes the report that we've got 20 minutes to sort the situation out, otherwise we're going to die by crashing into the planet. So, 20 minutes ain't long, to handle this kind of a situation. And quite frankly, I do, while I know the show goes on beyond this episode, lasts for a good 3 seasons, I'm highly skeptical as to how they're going to get themselves out of this one safely. Okay, I've just had thought of 2 other points. One, the fact that we find out, after Kirk actually gets down to the engineering doorway anyway to get in there, that Scotty's outside, and Scotty tells him that Riley said, and the reason I left was because Riley said you wanted me on the bridge. Personally, I wouldn't have taken that. Check stuff like that, because those kinds of orders should come directly from the captain, not from some subordinate. Secondly, why not just beam him the hell out of there? I understand he may have locked out, helm control and whatnot, but why not just beam, either A, beam in, or B, beam him out? Either way, they that should be a separate system that they should be able to access. So, yet again, short a few brain cells, guys. I'm really worried for the 23rd century at this rate, given the number of solutions that I'm able to come up with, just off the top of my head, with about 5 minutes thought. I swear Riley is a super douche. Oy. Anyway, so Kirk has made it back to the bridge, and Riley is still going on and on and on, and Uhura is trying to kind of give security some orders in terms of how they need to handle the situation, because the situation is spreading, and the ship gets rocked by another gravitational shift. I'm surprised that even in this situation, despite how loose he is, I suppose, for lack of a better term, how off his rocker he is, that he doesn't realise the danger that he's in, and the fact that he's putting a good 400 odd people at risk, quite possibly fatally. And he's making all these ridiculous orders. No ice cream for Uhura. Love my ice cream. But anyway, that female officers should wear their hair loosely and not wear makeup. All these kinds of ridiculous, pointless things when the ship is about to go boom. As you can tell, I kind of like doing that. But yeah. They also find that because he's in engineering, he has been able to, and has somehow in his somewhat lucid state, although I use that term loosely, been able to seize complete control of the ship, including the communications channels, and among the many other systems that are there. So next we get our first look at 23rd century, what will later get known as the Jeffries tube. I love 60s technology, again, because of the way that the actual year the show was made. And let's stick some magnets around. That'll fix the problem. Yeah. But anyway, I know it's just representative of what's supposed to be 23rd century technology, and that they were able to somehow, at least to a point, transfer a little power back to the helm so that they could stabilize their orbit. So they managed to buy themselves a little bit of time. Not much, I'll grant, because Spock reports they're down to 16 minutes to resolve to resolve this situation. And yeah, so whatever, and Scott's gone back to to the front door of engineering, and has got the hole ready to cut, kind of drawn where he needs to cut. So they can get access to the door to get back into engineering. Now, given what the material that's made out of, I'm sure that's going to take some time to cut through. So by the time he gets back in there, it's most likely going to have, 10 minutes less to kind of get regain control of the ship to the point where they can pull themselves out. And given the fact that the closer you get to a planet's surface, the stronger the gravitational pull, and the fact that they are spiraling down and down and down, trying to get this done in time, I don't know, I'm having a very disturbing image of the ship going boom. I know I didn't do it my usual way this time, but it's becoming a little depressing to think about this. Not to mention the fact that Riley can't sing for crap. So Spock has gone down to engineering and seen various crew members continuing to lose it, and this disease or infection is essentially spread throughout most of the crew by now. The fact that the bridge crew, as far as Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Scotty haven't been affected, I do find rather remarkable. But still. After that, we're back in sickbay, where they're continuing to run tests on Sulu to try and find out what the hell is going on. And McCoy is trying to get a report from from the biopsy lab to see if there's any kind of information there to explain what's happening. And there's no response. So he, on his way out, we find that Sulu's starting to regain consciousness. And Christine, while being able to remain focused for the moment, I think is also starting to show some signs of infection as well, which is also not good, because the less people medically we have working on this, the more likely it is that whatever it is going to continue to run unchecked and rampant through the ship and crew. So as things start to go from bad to worse on the ship, Spock has gone down to sickbay next to check on the doctor and see and check his progress, because intership communications are down thanks to Captain Jackass Riley, and because Christine's become infected, now Spock is too, with a simple holding of the hands that Christine manages to to grab him for temporarily, just for a few moments. So all that's left as far as main functioning crew is Uhura, Kirk, and Scotty. Everyone else, and McCoy. Everyone else is now pretty much out for the count, which is essentially, really making things look grim. And the Scotty is saying that yes, I'll be able to get through the door in time. We'll make it. But I get the feeling it's going to be more complicated than that. So it appears whatever this is, it's able to get through even a Vulcan's control, which, first of all, that's got to be some pretty potent stuff. Whatever the heck is going through the crew here. Christine Chapel has, essentially declared her love for Spock, and Spock's not having any part of it, walking away, and he's being called to the bridge, but not responding, and walks away, and we see that as he's wandering the corridors that he's starting to lose control of his emotions. He's about to burst out crying. It's a rarity for a Vulcan, because their mental control is supposed to overcome these things. But whatever this infection is that's going through the crew that's making them as loopy as they are, it's definitely taking its toll on him now too, and it seems to be working a lot faster on him than it did with anyone else. So they finally managed to break into engineering. Riley is very disappointed. And Spock is still wandering the hall. So right now, with the ship in a perilous situation, no one's on the bridge to really take command. I'm astounded. I'm just stunned at how this whole situation is being handled. It is woeful. And I just and it's because of that I have so much fun with this particular episode, just because of how incredibly bad this situation is handled, and there should be and how it should have been by comparison, and even this is by 20th century and more 21st century kind of standards. So Spock has sought some solitude in the conference room, understandably so, because a Vulcan is a prideful being in some respects, and they don't like displaying their emotions in front of others. And he is trying to regain his composure, but failing miserably. There's a bit there, as far as the actor's concerned, where he's crying, but I wouldn't have surprised me if on the inside he was laughing his head off and trying to disguise the laughter as tears. It just sounded a bit that way. I've always had a great deal of respect for both Spock the character and Leonard Nimoy as the actor, because he's been in a lot of other shows as well besides Star Trek, and although Star Trek is what he's more most widely known for, and he's quite the versatile actor. And also, quite the comedian too. He's, I've been reading about, several pranks and stuff that he pulled on, that both William Shatner, James Kirk, and pulled on each other. it was actually kind of very amusing. There were times when they weren't actually paid very much, and so they brought their own lunches in or rode their bikes into work, and Kirk had or Shatner had hidden Spock's bike or Leonard Nimoy's bike, and I can't remember what Nimoy did to kind of get a little bit of payback, but I know that they were practical jokers between the two, and they did actually have quite the long-term relationship and friendship. So we're back to engineering, and here we have the bombshell of the ultimate badness of Riley and what he did. He turned the engines off. First of all, I find it funny that the engines have got a simple off switch, and they'll. And obviously, it would have taken some time for for that to happen. For the engines to power down completely, because Scotty does say that they are completely cold. And the thing that I find amusing about that is that Riley was only down there for 10, 15 minutes, roughly, because they didn't have very long at the start. So I would say about let's call it 15 minutes. And it takes 15 minutes for them to cool down, and Scotty is saying there's going to take around 30 minutes for them to power back up. So that and his we hear one of his lines that becomes all too famous. I cannot change the laws of physics. There's a song by a group called Sirius Firm or Sirius Fun or something like that, called Star Trekking Across the Universe on the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk. And it goes through each of the bridge crew. It's actually quite amusing. There's a YouTube video of it, or you can find it on Spotify. Well worth a listen to if you want a bit of a laugh. And that line is kind of being mixed in there. So now we have Scotty trying to find a way to somehow, in the space of less than 10 minutes, do something that would normally take 30 to do. To try and at least get the ship into a position where it can pull away from the planet that's about to go boom and save themselves. So let's see how successful he is. I love this next bit. We go back. Kirk and Scotty are talking about a way to bring the engines back online with a controlled implosion. Something which is just a theory and never actually been done. And Scotty's like, "You're nuts, man!" But what the hell? Let's try it. Even so, it's would take several computers weeks or years or some extended time frame to try and find the right formula to get that to work properly. And then we get to back to sickbay where McCoy is tried miraculously found the cure to despite the fact that 3/4 of the crew is coming down with this with this disease or infection, and he's trying to and he's somehow managed to miraculously find the cure. Which I love the the way TV works sometimes. It's great. Anyway, they so Sulu is cured, and McCoy is trying to contact the lab to tell them, okay, we found how to cure them, make more of this stuff, but the lab has completely lost it. So we're back in the briefing room where Kirk has found Spock, and he's trying to shake Spock out of it so that he can help save the ship. I love how Kirk tries to shake Spock out of it. Let's deck him a little bit, try and slap the reality into him. Takes a little bit, but he manages to do it. And Spock is like, well, with your idea of implosion, it's never been done. But just because something's never been done doesn't mean that it won't work. So I can agree with, given the fact that it's either try or die, I can agree with the whole theory of try. But in doing that, Kirk also gets infected, has finally been infected with this disease. Fortunately, with McCoy having found the cure, he's not going to have it for very long, but it is going to distract him from his ability to properly command. but hopefully he'll be able to maintain semblance just long enough to be able to help give the orders needed to be able to bring the ship, to save the ship. So they managed to sort things out between Spock and Kirk, and Spock says that there is a formula that could work, which is a theoretical formula between time and antimatter. A theory which does come in yet again in the Next Generation, when which I'll talk about more when we get there, and something which I do find interesting. But again, there's a book which is out there called the Physics of Star Trek. It's a thin book, and not so it's not overly complicated, but it is another very interesting read, which does talk about various technologies and stuff and how they could or could not work in reality. And while antimatter can exist, it is a very volatile substance when it comes into contact with matter, and but I do find what the definition is between matter and antimatter to be interesting. But again, that's a discussion for another time. Kirk gets back to the bridge, and McCoy is there waiting with the cure. Rips his shirt, which I find very interesting. He could have just injected him in the neck or some other part. But let's just pull his threads, get a nice shoulder shot happening. One thing which I love is that the way that Kirk is able to maintain his semblance of self is his love of the ship, his love of the Enterprise, and he manages to maintain his sense of self and a sense of decorum because of his love for his ship. He will not let her go down alone, which I think is an impressive and sometimes dangerous trait, for a captain. So everyone is starting to get their So everyone's starting to come back to themselves, get some semblance of self back, and Spock and Scotty are in engineering, fixing up the engine so that they can try the restart that they need to do within the space of, by the time this happens, mere seconds, practically. And as they're pulling it off, whatever it is, it's causing a high-pitched sound, which is giving everyone a headache. But ultimately, they do manage to, kind of pull away from the planet and survive. Just with the last few minutes of the episode, and my final thoughts and comments, is we find that what they've actually managed to discover is time warp. And please, no Rocky Horror references. I do like the song, but still. The fact, they've gone back, we find they've gone back 3 days in time. So there are now 2 Enterprises, currently in this timeline. One from 3 days ago, currently going through the Psi 2000 problems, and another, and this one that we're in now. And I could really go into, spend, the next 10, 15 hours going on about the problems of time travel, but suffice it to say, I love O'Brien's line that he says a little bit in one of my favorite episodes of DS9 that I'll get to later. I hate temporal mechanics. It's a bleeding nightmare of a subject. But anyway, this has been quite the enjoyable episode for a number of reasons. I have enjoyed seeing the different aspects and to the crew's personalities. I particularly enjoyed seeing Spock kind of deal with his emotional issues and letting that out for a breath of fresh air, which I think we all need to do on occasion, regardless of how closely our emotions are guarded. Because bottling them up, really does no help to anyone. I do very much appreciate everyone who's listening, to these podcast episodes that I've been putting out there, and just to kind of recap, and how you can contact me. I am available on Twitter at warrior346, and my email address is warrior346@yahoo.com. And you can also leave feedback on the Apple Store, in the Apple Podcast Store as well, where I've posted these, and possibly in Spotify if it has that kind of feature as well. Thank you all for listening. Again, thank you very much, and look forward to your reviews, feedback, comments. And as always, live long and prosper, and Kapla. Greetings.